Hey there, cozy babe, and welcome back to the most cozy corner of the internet. I'm Kloee Taylor, and today we are going to be checking in with your spirit guides to see what they've been trying to talk to you about. Whether you feel like you can always hear your guides or your connection has felt a little bit blocked lately, we're going to connect with your guides and get to the bottom of things with today's pick a card. If you're new to pick a cards, allow me to give you a brief introduction. Starting from left to right, we have pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. Each of these piles represent an option for you. So you're going to decide which one of these suits you the best, and I will give you some more selectors in a moment to help you decide if you're having trouble. Once you make a choice, you're going to click on the description box down below, open it up, and select the timestamp that is associated with your reading that I've listed for you. If you need a little extra help deciding, I did go ahead before this reading and I actually rolled the astrology dice for you. So starting from pile number 1, you got the 5th house of Leo. Pile number 2, you got the planet Saturn. And pile number 3, you got the astrological sign of Taurus. This doesn't mean that these are your signs. They could hold some significance to you, but they're not necessarily your signs or your dominant planet. They're just something to help you make a choice if you were having a hard time. Now you can go ahead and pause this video or sit with the music until you feel ready. I'm going to begin in just a few moments, starting with pile number 1. Before we get into the reading today, I just want to tell you a little bit about our sponsor, Tarot Stack. Tarot Stack is an online store that sells indie tarot decks, basically decks that are made by independent artists. And every deck that I use today in the reading comes from Tarot Stack, and they are all incredible decks. Like, let me just tell you, I own many decks from Tarot Stack. The quality is incredible. And my favorite thing to date is that they really focus on not only indie, which is great. You know, you're not getting something that's just like mass marketed, but they also focus and have a lot of decks that are diverse. They are inclusive. They are gender neutral. And recently they added a section to their website that just focuses on divine feminine. There's like a whole divine feminine category. So those of you in your soft girly era, I feel like they have a category for like everyone. And I've never been disappointed, literally, from shipping times to the quality of the cards. Mind you, I'm a tarot card reader. Like, that is my chosen profession. And when I tell you the cardstock quality, the print quality, I've never had a deck fall apart on me when I have decks that I literally, some of them will use every single day. And they are all in immaculate condition. And they're just wonderful. I love Tarot Stack. I always jump at the opportunity to work with them. And be sure that you check them out if you're looking for some new tarot decks for yourself or a loved one. We are starting to lean closer and closer to the holiday season. So it might be a good place to get a gift for someone. And just check it out down below. All of the decks, like I said, that I'm using today will be linked down below for you in the order that they appear. And thank you so much, Tarot Stack, for sponsoring today's video. All right, pile number 1, if you chose the 5, this is going to be for you. So first and foremost, we have the 9 of Wands here for you. And I want to say, before I started this reading, like before I started the channeling the reading, I really got the sense, because I spent some time like in meditation before this, and I really got the sense that you have suffered a great loss. I don't know yet if this is like a loss of career, a loss of a person, a family member, a friend. It doesn't mean that they had to have died either. Like, you could just be at ends or at odds with them. Like, you are just really tired of taking their crap, possibly. It could be that they have actually passed on, of course, but Nine of Wands tells me that like you have been fighting or going against this thing or this person, or maybe it's just been like a really long battle of letting someone go, no matter how they're going. But I feel like that's where you've currently been. Then we have for you the Queen of Swords. I also feel that you have had to set a lot of really strong boundaries with someone. Queen of Swords is a card that talks a lot about having strong boundaries, and just like, even if that's been difficult for you, because boundaries are not always easy, let's be real. Even if that's been really difficult for you, Queen of Swords tells me that you really haven't given up this. And your guides want you to know that they know that this hasn't been an easy choice, but they're really proud of you for continuing to stand your ground, because that's definitely what both of these cards would insinuate to me, is that you've really been standing your ground, be it against a person or like suffering a great loss. Like you have not taken anything lying down. You haven't just like lied back and been like, you know what, forget it, that's just how it is, or that's just how it's going to be. Like you have really put a lot into something, your heart, your soul, into a person or a project. And this loss has been hard. You have felt like you have been in a losing season. I'm hearing there's a lot of sorrow over this loss. Like there's a very dense energy around this reading. And I also want to tell you, pile number one, that the number 5 here also, I mean, yes, it does correspond to Leo, the house of Leo, but it also corresponds to chaos, hardship. Number 5, even in the tarot, 5s, I don't know how familiar you are with tarot decks, but 5s in tarot often depict a lot of chaotic energy or victim energy, painful energy. It's like a bump in the road, or something that is difficult. 5s are usually very difficult. So I just wanted to point that out. And I also just wanted to express like my deepest empathy for you. And I'm so sorry that you've been going through such a hard time. Now, we also have a couple of cards that we will clarify, but I'm going to show them to you first. So first we have this card of Define, which says describe the exact nature, attributes, or details of something to clarify meaning, to create meaning for yourself. So there is something that your guides want to define with this reading today, and we'll see what it is in just a moment. And then we also have Potential, which says what powers and opportunities are waiting to be explored, activated, and manifested. What is the trajectory of expansion? How will you choose to shine and grow? So from this experience, there is actually a silver lining I'm hearing. And I don't know why that like makes me want to cry, because I feel like right now you're really in a position where the silver lining has just like not been a thought. And I think I'm really feeling like your loss and your upset. And I'm just so sorry that this has happened, and that this has been a consistent happening for you. Now, we also have, so to define something that needs to be defined, Spirit really wants me to go in on this for you. The clarifier for this Define card is we have the 8 of Swords here. And what we can define with the 8 of Swords is that this is a card of feeling very trapped and victimized. And that's not to say that you haven't been trapped, you haven't been victimized. But the 8 of Swords is a reminder that it is a mental paradox of your own making. Now, this doesn't mean, nor does it negate other people's role in this. It doesn't mean people have treated you unfairly or haven't treated you unfairly. I do get the sense that there are like real things that have happened. However, you are holding on mentally to a lot of this, when if you could let it go mentally, you would feel better. It would disintegrate. You would move into a new paradigm of your life, because the 8 of Swords is about living in victim mentality or living in helplessness. And this doesn't mean, like I said, this doesn't mean that bad things haven't happened to you. This doesn't negate the negative things that have happened, the loss that you've experienced. However, there is something to be said for going through a grief process, but coming out the other side of that and deciding not to just live in the grief of the loss. So please be gentle with yourself and easy with yourself with this Eight of Swords card. This is not meant to be a slap in the face. This is meant to let you know that there is a route that you could take that would get you out of this mental peril, that you don't have to pack up and live in this, and that it actually is something that is within your control to release from your mind. It doesn't mean that you can control outside circumstances, but you are able to control how often you choose to think about them. Now with potential, the potential that you have, what awaits you if you actually do this, if you decide to come out of this victim mentality, if you decide to move on from what has been difficult for you, if you make that a priority. I would also encourage you to look into self-concept work if that's something you've never heard of, or if that's something you've never tried before. Self-concept work is all about changing, basically not dwelling on the past, dwelling on what has made you a victim to life circumstances, but choosing to think thoughts that are more empowering and choosing to focus on those. Now, please keep in mind that this is not toxic positivity. If you don't feel like self-concept work will work for you and it feels too much like toxic positivity, then don't do that. We don't need to spiritually bypass the problems that are really there. But getting the Eight of Swords tells me that you're letting your life be defined by moments of your past right now. And now let's move into the potential that your guides really want to make you aware of with this reading. If you decide to, like I said, heed this, do the things that are being asked to move on from this, we have the Emperor. And this card is all about being your own boss, up-leveling in your life, being in charge of your life, being somebody that has a lot of confidence, being somebody that takes action, that goes after what they want with such a ferocity, okay? The Emperor is a card that is, I believe it's an Aries card. Aries is the astrological sign that corresponds with the Emperor card. And this card, it's all about literally just going after life, going after your goals, going after your dreams with such ferocity and intention that nobody could steer you off of your path. And I really feel like this is the energy that your guides want you to shift into. And it's not about being in black or white thinking or doing that trend of 75 hard, you have to stay on point every single day or you fail. It's not that. It's that progress doesn't even always look like perfection. In fact, I would say that it rarely does. Progress, sometimes you skip a day when you're trying to progress on something. I mean, shoot, to give you an example here, I have been teaching myself both Japanese and French for quite some time. I use the app Duolingo. I love it. I'm on I think I have a 65-day streak, but even Duolingo gives you the ability to freeze your streak if you miss a day, because it's about progress, not perfection. And I have used probably at least 10 streak freezes within a 65-day period. So I could have had a 75-day streak, but that's the reality of balance, is if you miss a day, it's that same saying, that really popular saying that's when one of your tires pops on your car, you don't slash the other 3 tires and say, oh, well, guess the car doesn't move. No, you patch up or replace the one tire and you keep going. That is what progress looks like. So I do feel like you've also that's something your guides are telling me, is with the Eight of Swords, you've also really had a hard time building rapport with yourself. So you don't trust yourself to be the boss of your own life anymore, because there have been too many times where you have set a goal and you haven't followed through. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter when the follow through happens. It matters that it does happen. So if you miss a day or a week here and there, that's okay. In the grand scheme of your life, that's not a lot. So don't be slashing all your tires. Fix the one tire so you can keep going, so you can rise to your potential. Now, we also have a couple of ocean heart messages for you. Excuse me. And I will be reading these ones from the book because I am not inherently familiar with them. But first and foremost, we have Oceanic Beloved. Excuse me, my throat. Y'all need to be speaking more, because I feel like whenever my throat gets blocked in a reading like this, Like I can hear, my voice sounds crazy. I need to take a drink. Sorry about that. Whenever my voice gets blocked up like that, I have like a really strong throat chakra. I feel like it's one of my strongest assets. And so when my throat chakra gets caught up like that, that tells me that that has more to do with you than it does with me. Because I'm channeling for you. So you need to be working on speaking what you need, speaking your desire, speaking your truth. So we have Oceanic Beloved. And like I said, I don't know these cards by heart. So I am going to read them from the book that came with this. It's a beautiful deck. Get it on Tarot Stack. All these decks, in fact. So Oceanic Beloved, I'm just going to read you the main focus of it. It says, we are all looking for the perfect relationship, someone who will listen, who is trustworthy, and equal in our lust for life. Best friends are the ones who share reciprocal love and who are unconditional with their communication. You will know you have met these beloved companions because there is no transactional energy to your exchanges. There is no jealousy, comparison, or unspoken nuance. Time changes nothing. And you can always reunite with open arms. If you are still holding pains from a previous connection, know that each person is here to teach us something about life. There is no need for regret once we finally glean these lessons and soulfully evolve. Not everyone is meant to be attached at our side, and we can always send our past friends love from afar. Love from afar. Give thanks for our time, growth, and illumination you both received. We are all travelers gifting along many threads of eternity. After all, we may very well see them again. So what this tells me is possibly the loss that you've suffered maybe is a loss of a friend, or somebody who was really close to you. This definitely is giving like person energy. But what this also tells me is that I feel like maybe you've gone through a lot of loss of friends in your life, or people specifically have hurt you a lot. It hasn't been like loss of money or loss of career. It's been like a loss of people ghosting or treating you poorly. And Spirit is saying that is your biggest teacher. That is a big teacher for you. And the more you can let go and stop defining every person you come into contact with how people treated you in the past, or let go of, honestly, even if you've been like met some really vile people in your life, this doesn't mean that every human on the planet is like that. And you have maybe seen the worst of the worst, especially with the dense energy that this reading had over it in the beginning. You have maybe seen like the worst of the worst people in your life. And Spirit is ultimately saying that you need to stop defining your present by experiences of the past with people, because something else that you need to hear, Spirit is saying, is that your destiny comes from other people. Hear me out for a second. Obviously you get to make choices in your own destiny, but if you think that you're just gonna like, and I get it because I've been there. I used to say this about myself for such a long time. Like even as a kid, I would tell my parents that like I wanted to be an author someday, and I was gonna like shut myself up into the woods and not speak to anybody for years, and that was how I was gonna write my book and not talk to anyone. And maybe that's your dream, is to like close off from people and be alone. But your destiny isn't made by yourself. Your destiny is made by other people, by word of mouth, by connecting with others, by others seeing what you do and being like, oh my gosh, I know the perfect person for this, yada, yada. That is how your destiny is made. So doing life alone, it's not the answer, bestie. Doing life alone is not what you came here to do. So know that. And know that you need to stop living in this past situation so you can connect with more people, so that you can be the boss of your own life again and let people in again. Then we have Atlantean Dream as your second card here. Atlantean Dream. This one says, this mystical key rises to the surface of your subconscious when you may be experiencing a sense of deep longing or dreamy nostalgia. Perhaps there are fragmented messages being revealed to you now as you seek to piece together the truth about something important. It may be necessary to look a little bit deeper and have the courage to face new facts, even if they may not contain the answers you were hoping for. Don't give up. Try using this sign as an opportunity to expand your awareness and to be open to all the angles that are being presented to you. Sometimes there are clues hidden beneath what is seemingly obvious. Open the doors of perception and trust your intuitive compass to guide you with grace. So I do feel like this has a lot more to do with like leaning into your intuition and not leaning so hard into logic. I do feel like, especially with Queen of Swords energy, you might be somebody that really falls under the logic category. And don't get me wrong, I think logic is fine. Logic and mysticism, they go together, okay? I know that we live in a society that tells us that that's not true, that logic and mysticism don't belong together, but they do. But you've been doing a little too much logicking, a little not enough mysticism, not enough intuition, and just trusting that. You're being asked to hone your relationship with your intuition, possibly to bring about new connections. Okay, now we have a couple of other, we have like 4 more cards-ish, but we have a couple of cards. What is this deck called? This deck, I want to tell you, this is the Inquire Within. And so this is just like some internal messages, might bring some stuff up to the surface for you. But we have content with what I already have. Oh my gosh, bestie. Being content with what you already have. I just had the longest, like I literally stopped in the middle of this reading and came back to it because I had a date with a friend virtually. And we had a conversation about this. Content with what I already have. So this, if you feel like you're like, I don't know, I'm literally going to tell you exactly what we talked about because I feel like it's so pertinent to this conversation that we're having. Okay. This reading. Me and this friend were talking about like making friends in the wild. That's what I call it because I have a lot of virtual friends. Most of my friends are virtual. I've moved a few times in my life, and most of the people I talk to, when I do talk to people, which isn't too often, I'm honestly a loner, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm happy and content in my own energy. And I think that's why it's actually easy for me to make connections because I actually really love myself. But this is something about making friendships is you're never going to make the worthwhile friendships or connect with people that really will serve your evolution and like you give to them too. You're never going to find that from a place of desperation. Trust me on that, bestie, because when you do things from a place of desperation, oftentimes, you don't get what you want, you don't see as clearly, and you'll often be taught a similar lesson as before. Like the lessons that you're used to being taught in relationships, if you constantly meet them with desperation, you're going to learn the same lesson again. And so content with what I already have, this tells me that like the priority you need to be making right now is in yourself. Spending time with yourself, because those friendships, those people, those connections that you're wanting, especially after losing some, they won't come until you learn how to be that person for yourself. So like something I was literally just talking about, and this might resonate with you. Take what resonates, leave the rest. I was just talking about with my friend virtually. I was like, dude, I really want to meet like another girly girl in my life that's into spirituality, that like loves sleepovers. Like, why did we decide collectively as adults that we just don't do sleepovers anymore? And like, I get it. People have kids and so they got to go home to their kids. But like, I also am somebody that's child free. So I'm always looking for other child free friends because not that I have anything against you mamas. I think you're doing incredible work and I have the utmost respect for you. It's just not the era of my life that I'm in right now. Just the same way that mom friends need other mom friends, child-free friends need other child-free friends. And there's nothing wrong with either side of that spectrum. But I'm like, I really want to manifest like another girly girl that like we can take turns having sleepovers at the other person's house. Just like maybe bi-weekly, we're into like Disney movies, the same sandbox video games, and like spirituality. I want to meet that person that like really my spouse gets along with. And like, I want to meet that person. And my friend was like, Kloee, you got to make it for you. And I was like, you know what? You're totally right. I am blessed enough to have a guest room in my house. Like I could literally plan a sleepover with myself bi-weekly if I wanted to and sleep in a separate bedroom twice a month from my spouse, make it about me, buy my favorite snacks, watch the movies I want to watch, play the games I want to play, and like give that sleepover to myself. And do that from a place of love for myself instead of doing it from a place of desperation and like, I have to find this in somebody else. You have to be content where you already are in order for the right things to come. And I promise you, from my own experience and countless others that I have witnessed, no matter what the situation is, regardless, when you come at something without desperation, you will see just how magically things can change. And then we also have make space for it. Oh my gosh, I didn't even look at this before I started talking. Literally, the anecdote I just gave you is a perfect example of this. So if you're trying to meet connections, you need to also make space for those connections in your life. If you're somebody that's always busy and you don't actually have time in your schedule for other people, that's going to make meeting people hard, right? So you need to take time out of your schedule and like make that the designated friend time, that when the right person comes in for you or people or a group, that's going to be your friend time and it's going to align perfectly. The way that I just gave you that anecdote about like having a sleepover by myself bi-weekly, that would be me making space for that so that I could eventually fulfill that with someone else. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a vibe and this is the energy you need. Like self-concept work, like I said to you earlier, that really will assist you, pile number one. Self-concept work, I think, would be really, really good for you. Okay, now we have a couple more cards. So we have a new beginning. And it says, it says, have courage to open a new door. Sorry, I had to like tip it towards myself. Have courage to open a new door. So I get the sense that you really are afraid of leaving your comfort zone. Like I said, I think you've been really burned and hurt in the past, and it's led you to making choices that keep you really, really, really safe. But the thing is, when it comes to comfort zones, you're not meant to go from being in your comfort zone to going so far out of it that nothing good is going to happen. Like you're too much in fight or flight to even accept the moment. You're meant to go just outside of your comfort zone so that you can start to make that, like, it's almost like exposure therapy for yourself. You're meant to go just slightly outside of your comfort zone to where it's a little uncomfortable, but it's comfortable enough that you don't feel like you're not, because like, think about it. If you push yourself so far out of your comfort zone, what's going to happen is in the moment, say you're meeting with a group of people. Okay. We're still going with the people thing. If you are too far out of your comfort zone, all you're going to be thinking about is what you're wearing, how you sound, what you're doing, what other people think of you. But if you do something that feels easy, like maybe doing an online meetup with someone, doing something virtual that's a little less pressure, maybe only audio, no video camera, right? That could be something that is more in your comfort zone because another person can't see you directly. So you're not thinking about yourself, right? You'd be thinking a little bit more about the conversation and the other person. So that's what I mean. I know I'm giving like a very specific example, but you can apply this to anything in your life. So you need to be ready to step outside the comfort zone and start a new beginning, because I'm telling you, there is a new chapter of your life, pile number one, that is more blessed, more beautiful, and more sacred. I'm hearing from spirit. It's very sacred, that it's going to blow your mind, but it's having a hard time reaching you because you refuse to leave the comfort zone enough to even stretch to try. And something I always recommend, especially if you've been really vibing with the things I've been saying about friendship, something that I always recommend as somebody that, like, I am a dinosaur on the internet. I have been here since 2010 making content in some capacity. And something I will always, always, always stand up for is virtual friends are real friends. And it's actually easier from my perspective. Maybe it might not be everybody's cup of tea. Some of y'all really are wild and out here and you like to go out in the wild and meet people. But something that always has worked for me, if that is a discomfort to me, is like joining Discord servers where people are into the same things. It's not just all for video games. Like, people are into crafting. I would say, like, start on Twitch, go to a crafting stream, go to an artist stream, go to a cooking stream if you're really into cooking. Join their Discords, talk to the people. We have a Discord that's linked down below if you want to meet like-minded people from our community. Like, you can meet other people. Like, obviously, please make sure you always read the rules of somebody's Discord before you just start posting. Like, make sure you've got the proper etiquette. But that is like such a good place to meet virtual people. I always recommend Discord and Twitch, those two hand in hand. Because I have met the bulk of my friends that I have met in real life too. Like, I've gone and seen them, or they've come and seen me. The bulk of my friendships have come from being online friends first. And that feels like, to me, less of a pressured way. And I know that that's a lot of information all at once, and I'm giving you a lot of personal examples right now, but I feel like it really applies to this pick a card. And I honestly think the conversation I had earlier with my friend, I didn't really disconnect from your reading appropriately before I got into the conversation. So I feel like this is kind of like the energy has carried. Okay, that was my bad too. I probably should have disconnected appropriately, like energetically. Okay, then we have for you the card of flow. See where it takes you. So this might be something else that you kind of struggle with. I feel like that you're being asked to be a little more open to. It's almost like you want like dedicated rules, or you want something to be like black or white. And this is something you're being taught through what you've been going through. You're being taught how to let things flow more easily. You are not incapable. You might even tell yourself that you're incapable of not having like rigidity, but everything that has happened up to this point, it has been meant to teach you how to stop being so rigid. And so far, I'm not really getting the vibe that message has come through. And that's literally why you're here listening to this reading, is because your guides needed to say it to your face. Like, there has been too much rigidity, not enough flow going on. Like, it's almost like the boundaries have been too intense because you've been hurt before. And so like, you almost expect to just continuously get hurt again. And Spirit is asking you to try one more time. Let yourself be open, but like, be content where you are right now and make space for something awesome to happen, because that's really where all the magic is going to happen for you, pal number one. If this reading resonated with you, please leave me this emoji down below in the comment section so I know which pile you chose, and tell me what you've been manifesting and how it's been going. I genuinely take the time to read every response in the comment section, so I can't wait to see what you've been manifesting. If you would like to support me a little bit more and get some extra content for yourself, please consider supporting me on my Patreon. Every single week, I sit down and I channel astrology, tarot, and bibliomancy for you. And every single month, I give you the theme with tarot. And every single month, depending on which tier you join my Patreon at, I also do community events, and we do bonus content, which can include things like vlogs, equipment overviews, extra pick a cards, extra astrology videos. My Patreon is such a good time, and I would love to have you over there as a cozy babe. And if you want even more free content from me, please do consider checking out my podcast. It's called The Cozy Babes Club, and it is literally all things cozy. We talk about mental health, we talk about trends, we talk about everything under the sun. I love my podcast. It's such a great source, I feel like, of more from me, but just it's like where all the context comes together. So if you follow me on socials or anywhere else, the podcast to me gets like all the BTS. So definitely check out my podcast. It's available everywhere you listen to podcasts. Link for that down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and don't forget to stay cozy out there. Before we get into the reading today, I just want to tell you a little bit about our sponsor, Tarot Stack. Tarot Stack is an online store that sells indie tarot decks, basically decks that are made by independent artists. And every deck that I use today in the reading comes from Tarot Stack. And they are all incredible decks. Like, let me just tell you, I own many decks from Tarot Stack. The quality is incredible. And my favorite thing to date is that they really focus on not only indie, which is great. You know, you're not getting something that's just like mass marketed, but they also focus and have a lot of decks that are diverse. They are inclusive. They are gender neutral. And recently they added a section to their website that just focuses on divine feminine. There's like a whole divine feminine category. So those of you in your soft girly era, I feel like they have a category for like everyone. And I've never been disappointed, literally, from shipping times to the quality of the cards. Mind you, I'm a tarot card reader. Like, that is my chosen profession. And when I tell you the cardstock quality, the print quality, I've never had a deck fall apart on me when I have decks that I literally, some of them will use every single day. And they are all in immaculate condition. And they're just wonderful. I love Tarot Stack. I always jump at the opportunity to work with them. And be sure that you check them out if you're looking for some new tarot decks for yourself or a loved one. We are starting to lean closer and closer to the holiday season. So it might be a good place to get a gift for someone. And just check it out down below. All of the decks, like I said, that I'm using today will be linked down below for you in the order that they appear. And thank you so much, Tarot Stack, for sponsoring today's video. All right, pile number 2, if you chose the Saturn dice up here, this is going to be your reading. Now, before I got into this, I did kind of sit with your reading a little bit, and I got the strong indication that your reading and like maybe something you've been going through, or this is just like kind of a helpful significator for your reading. You've been really trying to get more balance in your life. And I don't know that it's been an easy journey for you. You've been just trying, though, to like shift things a little bit. And it's kind of felt like the pendulum has just been swinging into extremes, possibly. And you're really trying to get yourself to a state of equilibrium. That's been like a major theme for you. And first up, you have the Knight of Wands card. So the Knight of Wands, this tells me that you have been in the pursuit of your creative passions. Maybe it's actually felt like you've lived in an extreme for a while and the scales are actually tipping to your advantage. And I say that because you have the Knight of Wands, but then you also have the Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands, this is really about like kind of holding your position, standing your ground, not going down without a fight. And not to say that you're fighting anybody like physically, but it might just be that, you know, you have been feeling like your creative pursuits haven't really been advancing the way that you'd hoped. But instead of just folding and deciding like, nope, I'm just going to give up, you have decided to stay and really stand your ground. And because of that, because you've been putting in like due diligence, I really get the sense that you've been working hard. And I feel like I can also, I can see that because you chose Saturn, right? Saturn is our planet of hard work. It's our planet of responsibility. It's like, if you get in there, like people always want to paint Saturn as this terrible thing, but Saturn is actually such a rewarding planet. Like even when we talk about Saturn returns, and I know there's a lot of information out there about Saturn returns, but like, even though they can be a difficult transit to go through, they are transits that if you work with your Saturn return, you will be so rewarded by the time that transit ends. And that's kind of how Saturn operates. It's like, yes, there's a lot of work that is involved in like laying a foundation down, but when you're done, the reward will be paid back to you tenfold. So I feel like where you've been trying to create more balance in your life, I also feel that it's like, you're not going down without a fight. You're still willing to fight for something that you're passionate about. I also feel like because I saw balancing scales, this could also have to do with a relationship for you, because balancing scales correspond to the astrological sign of Libra, and Libra is the relationship sign. That's like they rule over the house of relationships and harmony in relationships. So for some of you, it also could be that you're like not going down without a fight for a person. But ultimately what I am seeing for you is that Your guides brought you here to see what's going to unfold knowing this information. So there might be some stuff you've been missing or just not hearing. So we're also going to take a few cards, and these are like specific things that your guides brought you here to understand and dig a little deeper about. So first up, you have spirituality, metaphysics, and philosophy, and this is a focus area for you. This is something that your guides brought you to this reading to tell you that they want you to focus on spirituality, metaphysics, and philosophy right now, and we'll get a clarifier on this in just a second. And then we also have the card of problematic behavior. This is a shadow work card, and it says, what are the toxic behaviors from you or from others that are present in your life right now? What needs to be acknowledged and dealt with? So we're going to get clarifiers on these and kind of see what your guides are on about. But it looks like for spirituality, metaphysics, and philosophy, we have the Queen of Wands. So what this tells me, pile number 2, is that your confidence is something that you need to use a little bit more of a spiritual presence to work on it. I feel like maybe you don't feel like you are very confident, or you're like audacity, your confidence has been shot. Something about your confidence hasn't been as awesome as it could be. And when I see this under spirituality, metaphysics, and philosophy, you need to study the philosophy of confidence. Basically like where it comes from, why we have it, ways to like wrap your mind more fully around it, how people are confident, why they're confident. Somebody I would recommend you listen to if that is speaking to you is check out the Wizard Liz here on YouTube. If you don't know who the Wizard Liz is, I mean, dang, I feel like she's everywhere, but she really, her and also Leo Skeppy, he has a podcast called Aware and Aggravated, or Aggravated and Aware. I love his podcast. He is like one of my favorite podcasters of the moment. I feel like he just exudes such confident energy, and he will give it to you straight. Like both Liz and Leo, they will tell you things straight up as they are. They do not beat around the bush, and they often say things that people normally won't say. Like, I feel like they give you the no nonsense approach. And so if that rings anything for you, I would say to check into that. But spirituality and metaphysics, this could even be like spell crafting for your confidence. Like you can enchant your lipstick, you can enchant your keys, you can enchant your jewelry, you can enchant t-shirts. You can like literally put affirmations, intentions, enchantments into anything that you wear. And that could be something that could actually be a confidence boost for you. You can even take like a crystal, one that you like, and just be like, yo, this is my confidence crystal. When I carry this on my person, I am more confident. And it really will work that way. But ultimately, I feel like you're meant to take a more spiritual approach to your confidence right now. And you've been doing a lot of maybe mental work around this, but it's actually, you need to connect more with the spiritual side of things. Okay, now the problematic behavior. You have the 10 of Wands. And what this says to me is that the 10 of Wands is problematic, okay? Don't get me wrong. We love a bitch who does things. We love somebody who goes after their bag and gets what they want. But the 10 of Wands is problematic because it's one of two things, okay? And I think that some of you, it's going to be one or the other. So on one hand, the 10 of Wands is problematic because it's overworking. It's working too much. It's doing too much. It's taking on too many tasks, saying yes to too many things, always being a yes person, and basically doing things that you actually don't want to do because you're afraid of the criticism of not doing them. And in the opposite way, it also can mean that you're not working hard enough. You're saying no, you're letting your emotions rule every single day. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big proponent of emotional health, emotional healing, emotional intelligence. But the problem when you say you're going to do something and at the top of your day, you're feeling some type of way, It's okay to do that every once in a while. Don't get me wrong. I think having a mental health day is such a good thing, and it's very valuable. More of us should be allotted those and should give them to ourselves. However, if you are always letting your emotions dictate how you're going to behave in your day-to-day life, it starts to eat away at the rapport that you're not building with yourself. Because what happens, and I think this is actually an epidemic in today's world, truly, this is something that I think a lot of people struggle with. So you're not alone in this. But when you say you're going to do something, again, it's okay to not do it all the time. It's okay to not always be 110%. It's okay to not have black and white thinking about things. However, over time, if you are always saying you're going to do something and you don't do it, what happens is you slowly, and it happens so slowly you don't even notice it. What happens is you start to lose rapport with yourself. And the epidemic that is happening on the planet, I believe, is people, and you might be one of these people, they stop trusting themselves and then they start to look to everybody else. They start to look to every book, every tarot card reader, and don't get me wrong, like, I recognize that I love tarot card reading. I'm never going to tell you to leave the channel or not listen to tarot card readings. I think they can be so valuable and such a helpful tool. However, if it's something that you feel like you can't breathe without it, you need it so you can make decisions in your life, you have no discernment, this tells me that you don't have any trust within yourself. And my readings are always meant to be used as a tool that will aid you, but they're not something that you are supposed to become dependent upon. And that's the thing. If you don't have any rapport that you've built with yourself, if you don't trust yourself, it starts to get to this place where you don't feel like you can do anything without the opinion of someone else. And so the reason that I bring this up is that it could also be that you're not doing enough. You're not saying yes to enough. You're not doing the things that you say you want to do. You have all these great ideas, but you're not trying to execute any of them. Or you start trying to execute something, but then your emotions kind of tumble you back and you don't get back up. You just decide it's not worth it anymore. And again, it's okay to task switch. It's okay to decide something's not for you anymore. But the people I'm specifically focusing on are people that have something they really want to do or create, and they constantly don't make a plan and stick with it. It's like they don't trust themselves enough to continue to do something. They don't build the rapport, and they don't, there's no consistency. That's the word I was looking for. The problematic behavior is a lack of consistency and a lack of rapport with self. So those are just some things to consider. Spirit brought you here to hear those two things specifically. And whether they could apply in a couple of different ways as I gave to you there. So the next few cards, I know those last two, or especially this one, might have been a little bit of a heavy, harsh blow. But these next two cards, I do feel like tend to be a little bit gentler, this deck that I like to use. And we are going to be reading from the book with them because there is just no way I could remember every single one of these cards. The things about them are frankly just too dense. So I like to read from the book with them. But I have for you first the Mermaid card. And this card says, this card did not come to you as a coincidence. Ooh. You know what's funny? I've been feeling like this whole time I've been reading your pile that you might be a little skeptical. And that's why your spirit guides keep asking me to remind you, you're brought here for a reason. Deep within your bones exists a sacred wisdom that you may feel rising to the surface, a sense of something elusive that wants your attention. Perhaps you're looking at the world through a new lens, catching uncanny synchronicities and new traces of magic. Subtle shifts create ripples and waves, and you feel them all. The mermaid is a bearer of esoteric messages and great awakenings. It travels to the depths of who you are as a human being and asks you to draw from what makes you supernatural. You are energy and spirit in human form and more powerful than you may think. You are multidimensional and walk many potential timelines simultaneously. Where would you like to go from here? Wow. That card is just, especially because you got the card of spirituality, metaphysics. It's like, again, you're being reminded that there is more to this reality than you're giving time and space for. There is more. You tend to take a very logical and philosophical even approach, which is part of this, but you need to lean heavier into the spirituality and metaphysics of it all. And then we also have for you the card of Temple of the Sea. Looks like this, like a little Atlantica. Let me actually find the page and then I'll hold the card up for you again. So Temple of the Sea. Okay, Temple of the Sea, I found it. And this card says, if you feel that you are still in the process of moving on in some way, or if you are continuing to be emotionally invested in a past relationship or experience, give yourself some time to process and release these. Coming into your own is not meant to be a shortcut. You're here to learn through your own tides of trial and error. In order to be fully confident in your steps, don't be afraid to make a plan of action for your strides. Oh my gosh, I literally just told you this, that like it's building rapport with yourself, trusting yourself, and building consistency with yourself. And like something I feel like I need to say before I continue reading this is those of you that practice or like that menstruate. Okay, let's say that because I always want to make room for everybody here. But those of you that menstruates, you need to know that cycle syncing is your friend. Okay. You are not meant to work and push yourself and hustle every single week. You have different cycles. There is going to be a week out of every cycle where you are not going to be able to push yourself, where emotionally you are going to have to draw back. And you need to start tracking that and making, this is coming directly from spirit, by the way. Those of you that have the ability to track, because some of us, myself included here, don't have that. I have PCOS and my cycle comes whenever it feels like it. I don't have a normal, I say normal in big air quotes, but I don't have a cycle that I just know every time it comes. But if you are somebody that is blessed enough to have that, use that to your advantage. If you know that emotionally things are going to dip out for a week because you see it happen month over month, know that that is your emotional week. That is your week to be in your feelings. Tend to yourself. And the next week when you get into the ovulatory phase, that's when you need to start putting the foundations and laying the plans and keeping the promises to yourself. You can still make progress, even though 1 out of every 4 weeks, we're just using the 28 day as an example, but you might be longer or shorter. You have to know that 1 out of every 4 of those weeks, you need to lay back a little bit, and that's okay. You will still make forward progress and forward momentum will happen for you. You just need to make a little more room for yourself. I don't know why somebody needed to hear that. Okay. The universe is presenting you with opportunities to hone your discernment so you can learn how to align with what matters most. Literally, I've just been talking to you about discernment as well. With total love, grace, and inner devotion to feel the full capacity of what you truly want. Personal breakthroughs come when we lean into our vulnerabilities, which often precedes and necessitates our greatest accomplishments. Move beyond fear and find your temple. Wow. I feel like that doesn't even need a further explanation. You know the drill. Okay, we do have several more cards here to go over. So we also have these 2 cards. We have give it the time it needs. So again, your message, your word, I know I got like scales and balancing scales for you as a big overarching theme, but you also have to know that you need to give things more time. I feel like you want to like think about how something grows, okay? You don't put the seed in the ground one day and then go outside and dig the seed up the next day and look, is it growing? Is it growing? Is it growing? It doesn't work like that. Let's use YouTube as an example, okay? I know that the analytics page, if you are somebody that has ever uploaded a YouTube video, The analytics page really gives us the ability to go and dig up the seed. Okay. It gives us the ability to go dig up the seed and look, is it growing? Is it growing? Is it growing? Did I get views? Did I get clicks? Does the algorithm love me? Right? We can look at that every single day if we want to, if you're a creator, and take what resonates and leave the rest. Like if you're not a YouTuber, just apply this in your own life where you can see that you're able to track things. Okay. Here's the thing. That's not how growth works. It is such an anomaly and a rarity that somebody uploads one video and it just blows up, right? That's such a rare thing. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's rare. And it's consistency compounded over time that actually is the growth. And so, you have to water it. You have to feed it. You have to create new videos, come up with new ideas. If it's gardening, you have to water it. You have to make sure the plant gets sunlight. You have to prune it. You have to take care of it. And you have to give, your creations are the same, okay? You have to give things the time that they need. You can't just expect that something is going to blossom overnight. And I can hear some of you saying right now, you're like, but I already have wasted so much time. No, you didn't. Who put that idea in your head that you've wasted time? No, you didn't. And then we have plant a seed and wait. I love how both of your cards, not all the cards in this deck are like this. You literally got give it time and you also had to plant a seed and wait. So again, this is coming back with that consistency. You have to know that good things take time and it's okay. It's okay if things take time. You don't need to be an overnight success. Remember that people that you see that seem like an overnight success is very rarely the case. Most people have tried things for years before they have their moment. And it's okay. If you love something creative, something inspiring, right? With that Knight of Wands energy. If you're passionate about it and you're loving it, trust me when I tell you it has no choice but to eventually become your thing. No choice. What is even an algorithm? We don't even need to mess with that, talk about that, think about that. It's in everything that we do in this reality is an energy exchange. And if you are putting the energy out, and it is something you love, something you're passionate about, something you want to see through, it will happen. Then we have for you the card of mystery. Oh, little black cat. Cats might be a good, or like a spirit animal for you of some kind. And then it says secrets and hidden meanings. So again, tying things back into spirituality, you need to really get in touch with signs and synchronicities in your life again. Life needs to become more magical for you again, because I think you've kind of lost your magic. And something your guides want you to know is you've never lost it. You never lost your magic touch. It just seems a little more hidden right now because you're not focusing on it. And something that you can try if you've never done that before, I always find that this works really well whenever I feel like I lose sight of my magic. It's something I always pull back out, a tool from my toolbox, is you can ask your guides to say hey, my sign is going to be a balancing scale. Okay. My sign is going to be scales. Whenever I see scales, I'm going to know that that is a sign from my guide. So put that out there into the world. And know that every time you come across on letterhead, on a TV, out in the world, if a statue is holding scales, if you see a Libra symbol somewhere, you will know that that is a sign and a token from your spiritual team. It's not a coincidence. So you need to let yourself get back, reinvested with things and stop calling things a coincidence, because coincidences don't exist. And then we also have for you, remember who you are, return to the roots. Remember who you are, return to the roots. So remember who you are. You are inherently a creative being. Even if you don't see yourself as a creator, you are inherently a creative being. It is my personal and professional belief that every single human on the face of this planet desires to create. Even if it's not sculpting or painting or drawing, anything could be seen as creation. And humans, inherently, we desire to create. It's part of us. Remember who you are. Remember why you're creating. And return to the roots. Return to what used to bring you joy before. The roots are good. I feel like you've had a lot of plant analogies in your reading, pile number 2. If this reading resonated with you, please leave me this emoji down below in the comment section so I know which pile you chose, and tell me what you've been manifesting and how it's been going. I genuinely take the time to read every response in the comment section, so I can't wait to see what you've been manifesting. If you would like to support me a little bit more and get some extra content for yourself, please consider supporting me on my Patreon. Every single week I sit down and I channel astrology, tarot, and bibliomancy for you. And every single month I give you the theme with tarot, and every single month, depending on which tier you join my Patreon at, I also do community events and we do bonus content, which can include things like vlogs, equipment overviews, extra pick a cards, extra astrology videos. My Patreon is such a good time and I would love to have you over there as a cozy babe. And if you want even more free content from me, please do consider checking out my podcast. It's called The Cozy Babes Club, and it is literally all things cozy. We talk about mental health, we talk about trends, we talk about everything under the sun. I love my podcast. It's such a great source, I feel like, of more from me, but just it's like where all the context comes together. So if you follow me on socials or anywhere else, the podcast to me gets like all the BTS. So definitely check out my podcast. It's available everywhere you listen to podcasts. Link for that down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and don't forget to stay cozy out there. Before we get into the reading today, I just want to tell you a little bit about our sponsor, Tarot Stack. Tarot Stack is an online store that sells indie tarot decks, basically decks that are made by independent artists. And every deck that I use today in the reading comes from Tarot Stack, and they are all incredible decks. Like, let me just tell you, I own many decks from Tarot Stack. The quality is incredible. And my favorite thing to date is that they really focus on not only indie, which is great. You know, you're not getting something that's just like mass marketed, but they also focus and have a lot of decks that are diverse. They are inclusive. They are gender neutral. And recently they added a section to their website that just focuses on divine feminine. There's like a whole divine feminine category. So those of you in your soft girly era, I feel like they have a category for like everyone. And I've never been disappointed, literally, from shipping times to the quality of the cards. Mind you, I'm a tarot card reader. Like, that is my chosen profession. And when I tell you the cardstock quality, the print quality, I've never had a deck fall apart on me when I have decks that I literally, some of them will use every single day. And they are all in immaculate condition. And they're just wonderful. I love Tarot Stack. I always jump at the opportunity to work with them. And be sure that you check them out if you're looking for some new tarot decks for yourself or a loved one. We are starting to lean closer and closer to the holiday season. So it might be a good place to get a gift for someone. And just check it out down below. All of the decks, like I said, that I'm using today will be linked down below for you in the order that they appear. And thank you so much, Tarot Stack, for sponsoring today's video. All right, pile number 3. If you chose the Taurus dice, this is going to be your reading. So the first thing I want to say is, while sitting with your reading before actually like sitting here to channel, just like sitting with your reading in general, a message that I received for you was that this reading is ultimately going to be, or it's going to have some initial focus on a period of prosperity or abundance in your life. So every pile had something different channeled for them. And yours, I saw like bread and rice, and I know that's like food related, but those symbols in spirituality often correspond to having abundance and prosperity. You know, that is like, that to me is a key theme or a key indicator, or like being able to really thrive when it comes to prosperity and abundance. And remember that abundance and prosperity don't always have to be money. Though I know a lot of us in today's world would correspond the two. Sometimes it can be an abundance of love, an abundance of something that has been missing, an abundance of time, our most valuable asset, right? It can be an abundance of something else. So just keep that in mind. The first card I have for you is the Princess of Cups. And this card tells me that you maybe have been waiting on like important invoices, important bank balance things. This girl like sitting here checking her phone. I feel like she's kind of like waiting for something good to happen. And what Spirit is saying is like, you do need to expect good things, like expect good things to happen, expect good messages, good prosperity to happen. And oh, I didn't even catch that. The fact that you also would have chosen the Taurus symbol. Taurus is also the sign of prosperity, the sign of abundance and material wealth. So that's also really awesome. Okay. And then we also have for you the Two of Swords. And this card is all about making choices, feeling like we have to make hard decisions that we don't want to make necessarily. So this could be something that you're dealing with now, or something in the very near future is like a difficulty in decision making. So just keep that in mind as we continue. Now, your guides brought you here specifically to hear these next couple of messages. Like these are the things they want to quote unquote talk to you about. So we are going to see what they involve, and then we're going to clarify the message as well with extra cards. So the first card I have for you is that card of victory. This is a light work card, and it says, what validates you, affirms you, and establishes you? What makes you a winner? How do you become victorious? So how do you get to this like abundant self, this abundance mindset, this abundant way of living and thriving? So we're going to get to the bottom of that in a moment. We also have for you the card of ancestry, generations, and DNA. And this is a focus area for you at this time. Your guides brought you to this reading because they want you to focus on where you have come from. Generations, maybe even generational wealth is something that you're interested in, but we're going to go ahead and actually get to the bottom of both of these and see what it is that your guides wanted to talk to you about in terms of this. So number one, with the victory card, the card that we have to clarify this is the card of temperance. So temperance is a card that talks about creating pure alchemy. And alchemy, this is basically turning lead into gold, or a better way of putting it in like typical terms, I feel like, is it's really about turning difficult or hard situations into better situations. So it's like taking a lesson that maybe was really hard for you to learn initially and transforming it into a situation, something that's going to better your life. It's like learning a harsh lesson, but if you hadn't learned the lesson, you wouldn't be able to have the victory that you have today. And so with temperance coming out with victory, it's like, I do feel like you're putting a lot of hard work and effort into yourself or your life or your craft or your finances right now. And you maybe have seen the worst of it. Okay. Your guides are telling me that you've seen a lot of crap, and they're saying that you had to go through the crap so that you could actually come out victorious and be like, dang, I did that. I was actually just having a conversation with a friend today where we were talking about how sometimes the negative situations that happen, they end up helping us to savor the better. Like contrast and polarity show us clarity. So contrast and polarity equals clarity. You get clarity on something. It makes the good times seem so much sweeter and so much better. When you are going through a losing season, which maybe that's where you've been, okay? When you have been going through a losing season in your life, the winning season that is going to come, your guides are saying this, your winning season is coming. When you go through a winning season, you appreciate that winning season so much more because you've seen the polarity and the contrast of that. Now, the card that describes ancestry, DNA, and generations, we have the 10 of Cups, which is really interesting because the 10 of Cups does talk about fulfillment, wishes granted, but it does definitely correspond to family. The original tableau of this card usually shows like two parents, two kids and a dog playing in the yard with their white picket fence in their house. Like it really is like being at the family house, being close to family, having a community, and not just like having people that are just fixtures in your life because they've always been, but actually having emotionally fulfilling connections. So your guides brought you here to talk about this and clarify this with you, that you do need to learn more about where you've come from. I am hearing that some of you might have like genuinely, maybe there's somebody here that was adopted and you need to learn more about where you came from, like maybe even doing like a DNA test and finding more about where your lineage is from and trying to bring that culture back into your life. It would actually really serve you in creating more abundance in your life, because something that you need to know, pile number 3, is that our DNA carries our ancestors, right? We already know that. We know that we carry the DNA of our ancestors, but did you know that like your grandmother technically also carried you? Like, meaning when your mother was born, she already was born with the egg that would have carried you. So like you were also carried by your grandmother. Isn't that crazy? And I personally believe, and I feel like your guides are asking me to bring this up on purpose for you, that when your grandparents prayed over their families, their flocks, their farms, their houses, their children, they prayed for you too. Your grandparents had a prayer and you were the answer to that prayer. And I'm getting the chills as I'm saying this, because it's like literally you were able to continue to walk and live and breathe because of decisions that were made before you were even considered or conceptualized into being. And I always like to remember that when I'm thinking about like ancestral work, is like to have posterity thrive is always a prayer of a grandparent. And I don't know why grandparents are coming through so strongly in your reading. Maybe your grandmother also was like a baker, or your grandfather. Because I remember I told you I saw bread. I saw bread and I saw rice before sitting down with your reading. And so I feel like there might be something tied to that for you. Something you need to get back to in terms of like, I don't know why, like maybe you're a baker, you need to get back into baking. There's something about that. I also saw like flour bags as well. And Spirit is saying with this Ancestry Generations DNA, there is something in you that has yet to be unlocked because you haven't discovered that it's part of you yet. And so doing the ancestral work could actually benefit you. Now, the next couple of cards we're actually going to read out of the book that they came with, because I am not familiar with all of these. What they're about are just like so depthy that there's no way I could have remembered them all. So we're going to read these directly out of the book for you. Sorry, y'all, my camera got a little weird there for a second. But the next card I have for you is the card of Celestial Waters. And this says, when you receive this card, know that your guardian angel is with you, sending you crystalline waters of clearing and protection. Every particle of light that surrounds you is a blessing with this divine force, allowing you to cut away any negative tethers you have been tied to. Ask for support in alleviating your burdens. Give thanks and know that you are worthy of love and to move with grace on this earth. Every day we are reborn in some way. As we learn to harness our connection with our own divine sources, we can learn to adjust and adapt what we allow into our lives. We create space for more purification in all that we do and allow the signs and guideposts to illuminate our path from within. Wonderful. My goodness. I feel like that was such a powerful, I don't even feel like that needs explanation. I feel like it was already powerful enough on its own. And then the next card we have is This one of, I'm pulling up the book first before I show it to you. It's a beautiful card, absolutely stunning. But we have this card of transcendence. And this card says, in many spiritual traditions, the ultimate goal is to transcend the karmic wheel and become one with source. However, it is a popular misconception to assume this means foregoing the human experience altogether. When we are in spirit form, there is no separation in consciousness. The point of incarnation is to cultivate our connection with the divine while being bound by the mortal coil. There is a beautiful sense of wonder that comes with this message. You may be at a point of powerful awakening. If you have been sensing a deeper nudge within you, this card comes as confirmation of much greater forces at play. You are invited to cultivate inner stillness via meditation and carry your serenity into everyday life. True transcendence is embodied when we are able to navigate the vivid dance of life with grace, to observe with neutrality as the world swirls around us, to acknowledge and act upon the plight of the world without being drawn into the petty dramas of the human game. So I also feel like this is here to remind you that, like, yes, connecting with spiritual realms is very beautiful. Maybe you do a lot of that in your life right now. But also, you're not here to transcend this human experience. You are here to fully embody and be a part of this human experience that you're in right now. And your guides really want you to know that. That's something they led you to this reading for, that you are here to be a fully grounded, actualized individual. You're not here to just like sleep through life or like try to transcend through life. Now, don't get me wrong. I think transcendence is a beautiful thing. Enlightenment is a beautiful thing, but you are a human first. Okay. The next thing they want you to know is that you are going to be having clarity of mind. I love this card because I do feel like, especially with that Two of Swords that you received, maybe things have been a little bit foggy, a little unclear as to what you're doing, where you're going, what your purpose is. Maybe you've been just struggling with how to know how to make more abundance or prosperity in your life. And you are receiving the gift right now through your spiritual team of having more clarity of mind. This reading, in fact, maybe actually gave you a breakthrough of some kind that you were waiting for. And that's another reason you've been led here. And the next card we have is Let It Flow, Let It Grow. So what this tells me is that, like, with Let It Flow, you need to let the goodness flow into you and out of you and let that grow. Okay. So remember how you have the Princess of Cups here. The Princess of Cups is ultimately the card that's like, it's the page. Okay. It's the Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups is a card that talks about like believing good things can happen for you and actually like believing that they're coming, believing that they're on their way. And so if you do that, you actually let these good feelings, these good vibrations, this like way of being that feels good to you, you let that multiply. And good feelings beget good feelings, okay? Positive affirmation begets positive affirmation. Believing in good things brings them into your physical reality. And so you're being asked by Spirit to let it flow into your life so that it can grow stronger. And I have a couple more cards for you still. So we have this next card, which is the card of trust. And it says, faith is the power of the universe. I love this card. I feel like if you felt a strong pull to pile number 2, you should definitely go back and listen to it, because I really feel that I talked a lot in that reading about the epidemic that not trusting yourself is, and how we as a people, it's been difficult. It's been difficult to navigate murky waters. And a lot of us don't trust ourselves. And that's hard. It's hard on the human experience. But this is also asking you to trust a little bit more in divine. Trust more in divine timing. Trust that things will be granted and given to you. Trust that you will be led on the right path. Trust that you really are being healed by divine in this moment, because you also got that celestial waters card that talked about like literally being cleared of negative forces in this moment by divine. That's a powerful card. And I do feel like you have been leaning more on your own like ability to bring things into your physical reality when you need to just let the divine work its magic with you. And trust that the universe has your back. There's actually a book by Gabrielle Bernstein called The Universe Has Your Back. It's definitely a little bit of an older book, but I feel like a lot of the principles still ring true. If you feel like you're a reader and that's something that you would vibe with, I would encourage you to check it out. And then we also have the card for you of stillness, lack of movement. So Spirit is also saying that I feel like you're a hustler, pile number 3. I feel like you're a hustler. Okay. You're somebody that is not afraid of a little hard work. You're not afraid to go after your dreams. You're not afraid to put intention into something. But the thing is, I feel like there's been a lot of that and not enough trust. That's actually been kind of a common theme of today's readings. I feel like everybody got this a little bit in their reading, but a commonality today has been like A, lack of trust, and B, feeling like you have to only exist in logic and not mysticism. Like you can't get wrapped up in mysticism. You can't believe in more spirituality things like, oh, spirituality looks cute on them and it works for them, but not for me. Manifestation works for them, but couldn't be for me. That's not how it works. It's for everyone. And you're actually being asked to trust that things will come your way and relax into it. Know that something, like when you order a package from Amazon or, you know, wherever, it doesn't have to be Amazon. We could go with somebody more ethical. When you order a package from somewhere, you might be somebody that camps the tracking page, but you don't have to. You know that that package is going to get delivered. You are able to sit back, relax, do something else, carry on with your day, carry on with your life, but yet you have the understanding and belief that it will come. This is the level of belief your guides are trying to get you to be comfortable with. Because your life, genuinely, I told you, I saw prosperity and abundance for you. That is on its way to you already. It's already a given. You just need to believe that it's coming. It's going to be a really big test of faith. Sometimes you have to leap before the staircase shows up, but you have to know that that like safety net is going to be there once you take the leap. And I feel like your reading pile number 3, to be honest, a lot of it was very like, you got a lot of different mixed messages. I wonder if a lot of people chose pile number 3 and that's why. I feel like my energy is like scattered right now. There were so many different points to your reading, but if this reading resonated with you, please leave me this emoji down below in the comment section so I know which pile you chose, and tell me what you've been manifesting and how it's been going. I genuinely take the time to read every response in the comment section, so I can't wait to see what you've been manifesting. If you would like to support me a little bit more and get some extra content for yourself, please consider supporting me on my Patreon. Every single week I sit down and I channel astrology, tarot, and bibliomancy for you. And every single month I give you the theme with tarot, and every single month, depending on which tier you join my Patreon at, I also do community events and we do bonus content, which can include things like vlogs, equipment overviews, extra pick a cards, extra astrology videos. My Patreon is such a good time and I would love to have you over there as a cozy babe. And if you want even more free content from me, please do consider checking out my podcast. It's called The Cozy Babes Club, and it is literally all things cozy. We talk about mental health, we talk about trends, we talk about everything under the sun. I love my podcast. It's such a great source, I feel like, of more from me, but just it's like where all the context comes together. So if you follow me on socials or anywhere else, the podcast to me gets like all the BTS. So definitely check out my podcast. It's available everywhere you listen to podcasts. Link for that down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and don't forget to stay cozy out there.